Hi, it's Link Smith, the president of the MOAA Public Affairs and Communication Professional Virtual Chapter, and welcome to another edition of our Spotlight interview series today on 27 June 2025. We are joined by the California Council of Chapters President, Captain Ramona Chavez, United States Air Force retired, and Colonel Bill Nelson, United States Air Force retired, who is the Vice President for Legislative Affairs for the California Council of Chapters. Bill and Ramona, thank you for joining us.
Thank
Happy to be
you.
here.
Yes, happy to be here.
Can you both share a bit more about your careers to start in the United States Air Force and your work subsequent to active duty? Ramona, we'll start with you.
Sure. Well, I enlisted in 1985. That was my avenue to go to college as number five of seven children in a very small town. So I went and enlisted for 4 years, but found that I was found my calling, if you will, that I was going to stay in the military. So I did my 4 years active duty. Actually, it's a shy of 4 years because it was Graham Rudman, where you either had to go into the guard or get out, and or guard or reserves. I went into the guard, so that was a bulk of my career. I was in combat communications, and I finished my last 5 years in the Air Force Reserves. I had the fortune of having both a military and civilian career for a bulk of my career, and I spend a good portion of that in IT, both on the hardware side and the software side, carrying a number of leadership roles there.
Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, a little bit different. Grew up in, was a Navy brat, and then uh, junior high and high school in Southern California, but then I went to the Air Force Academy. After that, went out and became a fighter pilot, then a test pilot. And I was very fortunate to be able to hop back and forth between doing some really, really cool national level testing along with um, programs and government acquisition. So after the service, so I stayed in the service 26 years. And then I last couple of jobs was assistant program director and an acquisition wing commander, where I was responsible for the air dominance weapons portfolio, about a $26 billion defense program portfolio of air-to-air missiles and targets and decoys and drones and stuff like that. And after that, I did UAVs commercially. I did a molecular detection and imaging startup company, and then got into space, commercial space. Ran the Australian space program for Viasat, and um, and then some other things like crypto and cybersecurity and a few other odds and ends. I'm now on several boards for different companies, either technical advisory boards or other boards that are variety of different types of spaces, everything from high tech military applications to direct to consumer applications. So that's kind of my background. Just one thing for you, Link, is probably interesting is during my career, I actually received the Microsoft Innovator of the Year award from the CEO of Microsoft while not working for Microsoft.
Over to your duties, Ramona, as president of the California Council of Chapters. Can you tell us more about your duties?
Sure, happy to. Well, as the president of the California Council of Chapters for MOAA, my primary responsibility is to lead and coordinate the efforts across our 23 chapters across the state. And we have chapters as far north as Chico and as far south as Chula Vista. So I work with the board and chapter leaders and national MOA to ensure our collective voice, remains strong and effective in advocating for our California military community. My responsibilities as a leader is very common across all leadership. One is to provide strategy. So again, working with our board to identify how we want to align our mission for advocacy and support of our community. I also represent CalMOA at state level meetings and veteran coalitions and legislative events throughout the year to strengthen our visibility and influence and so hopefully making more impact for our veterans and their families. Communication is a big one. That's a challenge for us and a top priority. So I'm trying to streamline communication across our 23 chapters and try to share some best practices. And I think Bill's going to have a good example with that on Discord. And then, also support Bill in driving legislative engagement, including, coordination with any grassroots advocacy and key state and federal priorities. Military retire benefits, a big one for us is tax issues and survivor protections. And Bill would be able to share some of that with you. And then really a big part of it too is building partnerships. I like to call it a coalition, where we get other veteran service organizations, state agencies, and community stakeholders to synchronize our efforts and our impact. So focusing a lot on building those relationships. And we have, organizations like the Cal State Vet Commanders Council that pulls a lot of veteran organizations together. And I think we just need to broaden our scope to include more. I find that, I dream that we'll have a coalition, even though our missions may be the same. We're all looking for the support for our veterans and making sure that we advocate on behalf of them.
Bill, let's get over to your duties as the Vice President for Legislative Affairs for the California Council of Chapters. Tell us about your duties.
Well, we've got a number of things in work. It's all sorts of legislation that supports our members, and broader than that, it supports. We really take a look and try to support all the veteran community across the board and focus on California. There's more than a couple of handfuls of initiatives that are currently in work in the California state legislature that we try to keep people apprised of about what's going on, let them have information so they know how to engage. And so that's the one. Ramona mentioned the big one that we've been working on for years is the exemption to military retirement tax and survivor spouse benefits. In the state of California, we're losing all sorts of experience for people that could work in the high-tech world and the California business associations. And they're all making that value decision when they look at the cost for being in California versus where they could do some other places. And right now, a lot of people are voting with their feet and moving when they leave the state. We're probably the highest number of military folks assigned to the state, active duty, but we do not have that number that decide to stick around after they retire. They go elsewhere. So this would help that. One of the things that I'm trying to focus on is putting the infrastructure in place to enable our members and recruit additional members and kind of meet them where they like to work and engage. So Ramona mentioned Discord, I think, is one of the tools that we've got out there, but it's really trying to provide the information so that you as a member can know what's happening and choose and make it easy for you to engage on topics that matter to you. So that's what we're trying to do, and we're trying to put the tools in place to be able to do that. Would love to work, across the states to do this, and maybe work with MOAA National to facilitate having these tools available to the chapters and councils that they could just pick up and use. So I think that'd be one of those things that would foster or would help the national MOAA mission as well as all the individual states and chapters. And what Discord brings to you, threaded discussions. So we have our own California Veterans Legislation Board. We have 2-year bills. We have what's active this year, some history, some other general type of information that if you wanted to hop in and have a conversation in there. But you can see like AB 53 is got a little icon, a little circle next to it, and it's highlighted. It means there's something new I haven't read about in AB 53. And if you click on that, it changes this area over here, and you can sit and you can read what the latest conversation is going on about that. And it's posted by all of our members. we don't have tons and tons of people. We've got 40 some, 45 that are members of this right now. That's me right there. I chose one that I could pass on to somebody else down the road if we needed to. And these are all the folks that are online and all the folks that have accounts that haven't checked in today. But if you wanted to send something, you could just go at Ramona. So if I hit return right now, Ramona would get hit and Ramona would get a notification and everyone would get a notification that's a member. So I don't use that very much, but if there's something neat, something important that says, hey, there's a hearing coming up immediately, we need you to go do something, then I'll hit everybody. Hey, I want to know every new thing that's happening in this site, or I only want to know if somebody hits, says my name or everybody. And I'll get an email and a little notification icon on the website. So you can find out the history. If you want to go the history, just roll back up and read what you want to read. Go, oh, okay, I'm up to speed now. But it marks which ones you've read and which ones you haven't.
With the number of chapters, the size of California, and the number of veterans organizations in California, can it be said that Discord is a great way to get everybody on the same page quickly?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's in a way that doesn't fill everybody's email box up all the time. And it's on demand. You can go to it when you want to. For whatever reason, you may want to say something or just get up to speed, or a little bit of both. Let me ask you this, Bill and Ramona. Do you see Discord as a tool for a national VSO effort and managing legislative priorities on a national basis?
I think that whether Discord is a tool, there are a couple other tools similar to Discord in this. We settled on this because it was one that the California Commanders Council, that the guy helping to work with that was familiar with this and was able to help us set it up. But there are other ones that we looked at. We couldn't find. We were trying to get some free versions and things like that, but we did not want to go to pick up an expensive tool without having experienced it. So what we're trying to do is we think there's an opportunity for national level, MOAA national, to help us evaluate some of these tools, but we really think that Discord's one of these. It's a persistent threaded discussion that members, and it's protected. It's only people that have the link. So it's not everybody on the internet can come up and read this. But if you've been invited into it, you've gotten the link, you can come join and you can participate in the discussion.
And you've got to sign up and have a presence on it to participate. Is that right, Bill?
Correct.
Okay. Let's get back over for a minute to Assembly Bill 53. It was 46 last year, Ramona, right?
Correct.
It's passed the House. How's it going? Is it going to pass the Senate?
Fingers are crossed. It's gotten to the Senate. It's much further than we've ever gone with this particular bill. It definitely has visibility in the governor's office. As Bill mentioned, it is in the budget. And when it's moved on to the Senate, we got a trailer bill, which is another avenue of outlining the program, and looks very positive. I met with legislators a couple of weeks ago when we were doing Advocacy Day out in Sacramento. And I met with one assembly member, and her thing was that I think you guys are pretty golden. I just don't want to get overexcited yet. Bill, your thoughts?
Same. I don't want to jinx it.
Yeah.
I do think we are in pretty good shape for this initial one because it's in the governor's budget, and there are others. Is that trailing bill that's already there that may that would push it forward as well. So even with that, it's not the level that we need to keep people to make that equation to keep them decide to stay in California. So there will be more follow-on engagement needed to move that. And that's very similar to what's happened in a lot of states as they've gone through. They get an exemption to start at one level, and then over years you get the data and you go back and you try to increase it, and that's what we'll be working on. Let's try to see what we can leverage across, with national to support, so we can work together a little bit tighter. And I reached out to the CIO, and then I'm now back to the chapters individual in national, and to have this discussion about what can we do together. I think there's a huge opportunity. Maybe I need to foot stomp that again. A huge opportunity to work together to establish some of these tools that the councils and the chapters could buy into. Maybe they don't, we're not asking national to take out of their own hide and, the money that our national dues to facilitate the chapters in the states, but at least maybe we can negotiate a, bulk purchase agreement or something like that. And the tools are the same, so that when we come online, just like we have here on this Discord site, we have the California veterans. Well, we could have a CalMOA, we could have a national level one right there, and you could still have that same level of discussion going on. And it's just different areas and different people. Some of the same people could participate, but it's a different area to engage in. And I think that's the type of stuff that we really need to do, and we need to get national on board. This is one of those things that will help, I believe, will help national in our reach out to our new generation of members.
Indeed, California has 52 congressional districts, which equates to 52 representatives. So in terms of just sheer numbers, are you suggesting in the case of this year, the top 5, this would be a great, when I say this, Discord management tool to advocate 24/7. And coming into our time in the Hill, everybody would be read in even better.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so, because it's really hard to keep, there's so many different places to go look, right? It's hard to keep up with, okay, what bill's coming up now? When do you need to put the pressure? Because, you got to tell people recency is really important when you're trying to get something passed, right?
What are some of your other challenges in the California Council of Chapters?
Our biggest challenge, like every other volunteer organization, is membership. So we've had a decline over the last year, and our population is sometimes aging out. So I think our big challenge is to attract new members and active members. I think that is our biggest challenge facing us, like MOAA National's facing, and all these other veteran organizations that are trying to get their membership up and maintain the strength that they have with the membership they do have. Yes, and we have to really educate them on what we actually do, that we are a legislative push for all of our veterans. It's not just for officers, but it's for our entire military community. As I mentioned, their spouses, surviving spouses, families, etc.
In closing, the floor is yours. Anything else you'd like to spotlight about the MOAA California Council of Chapters?
Well, at the heart of CalMOA, I think, is our commitment to service. And it's not only to our members, it's to our entire community across California. Our mission goes beyond our meetings and events that we host, but it's about ensuring those that have worn the uniform and their families continue to be heard, respected, and supported at every level. I think CalMOA sets itself apart by the strength across our 23 chapters. We have retired generals mentoring junior officers, surviving spouses that are all trying to advocate on behalf of our veterans. We echo what MOAA says, one powerful voice, and not just in words, but in action. So through the work we're doing through advocacy, community outreach, and some of our chapters do fantastic jobs with community outreach and collaboration. We're looking to provide that unwavering support across our community. Thank you for the opportunity to share our work, and more importantly, thank you for standing with those who have served. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Captain Ramona Chavez, United States Air Force retired, the president of the California Council of Chapters, and Colonel Bill Nelson, United States Air Force retired, the vice president for Legislative Affairs, California Council of Chapters. Thank you for joining us on another edition of the MOAA Public Affairs and Communication Professional Virtual Chapter Spotlight Interview Series.